Lloyd Vance joins us for a couple minutes. Talk a little football. Does a great job contributing to NFL Network. Covers the NFL. Great writer. And I feel like we haven't spoken for about 5 months.
It seems like a little while, pal, but we always talk off the air. And I know you're doing well. And, it's an exciting time in the National Football League.
Yes, it is. All right, let's start with the NFC East for a moment. Let's start with the mess that is the New York Giants and that offensive line. I mean, it's you can't really. It's a rarity. You can't make a trade. I mean, it's very hard to make trades. Whether it's Staley, the Niners don't want to trade him. We talked about the tackle with the Cleveland Browns, Thomas. So, I mean, what do you do? I mean, you got to sit there and you got to bench Flowers because he's going to get the quarterback killed.
Yeah, Q, and it is a tough time, as you said. Most of the teams around September 1st, they made their cuts, and then they established their roster, go to week 1, and then they're pretty much going to go to war with those guys. So they got a couple options there. There's some guys that are free agents that may be hanging out there, maybe go to another team's practice squad. But other than that, you're not going to get somebody established. And let's face it, around the NFL today, everything's about the system. Can they learn blocking schemes? Can they learn the plays? And it's a week-to-week league, so it's going to take a while for them to learn a different system. So right now they're going to go in and face the Eagles, a team who also allows a lot of pressure, and it's probably going to be a pass fest, I guess, this week.
I mean, do you think this offense is fixable?
Well, I know there's something about maybe Mike Sullivan, the offense coordinator, taking over play calling for Bob McAdoo. We'll see if that makes a difference. I think Odell Beckham being more healthy this week may help them. And let's not forget the Eagles secondary with McLeod, Watkins. We already know Darby. All these guys are hurt. They may not play on Sunday. And it may help them in terms of getting the ball out of Eli's hands a lot quicker. He won't get hit as much. And that's going to be the key, getting that ball out of his hand and controlling the pass rush. But the Eagles, we know, with Graham and Curry and all these guys are really bringing some heat. So it's going to be a tough battle for this team.
All right, listen, the sentiment over the last couple of weeks is Doug needs to run the ball a little more with the Eagles, especially with his play calling, be a little more creative. Look, Smallwood is not your power back. You sign Blunt. You know Sproles, you're going to work him into the ground because he's most likely going to retire. Pumphrey, you had to stick the kid on the IR. Clement is a free agent, undrafted free agent that made the squad and more or less special teams. I mean, is this? Are you of the belief that the Eagles just don't have the personnel to run the football, or they have the personnel and they should be more consistent, but there's an unwillingness of the head coach to try to run the ball more?
Yeah, much like the Giants, personnel is going to be what it is, and these are the guys that Howie Roseman, the general manager, has selected for Doug Pederson, the coach. And you're talking about LeGarrette Blount. He's a pounder, a guy at 1,200 yards last year, 18 touchdowns. Obviously, that was with the Patriots, and he's 30 years old, but you still expect him to at least get 10 carries a game, try to establish himself between the tackles. And the Eagles' offensive line with Brooks and Johnson and Peters, they do have some size up there to run the football. So I think it's more of Doug Pederson acting like Andy Jr., and just getting way too pass happy. They called 56 pass plays. Carson Wentz running for his life out there, gets sacked 6 times against KC. And they're going to have to change some things up because this rookie, he's not a rookie anymore, but Carson Wentz is going to get hurt if he keeps getting hit over and over like this.
Well, listen, everyone's talking about the Giants and their bad offensive line. The Eagles' offensive line has not played particularly well. I mean, they've been good this year, but a lot of people have them rated as one of the best in football. And people forget the Giants, their pass rush. Listen, they weren't able to get home. They were getting there the other night against Stafford. They were able to get a little bit of pressure against Prescott, but these are guys that typically takes 2 to 3 weeks to come around defensively. So, you got to be wary of that. And my point is, when you have a quarterback that's dropping back to pass 45 times a game, you're right. He's more prone to taking unnecessary hits, running for his life, and then throwing that bad pick at times. And now you're going against a secondary if they get Jenkins back. On paper, look, I know the line moved, but on paper, you know the Eagles right now are the better team. But I'll say this, and I've said this to you for years. You get a team that's a wounded team with their back against the wall. You know they're going to come out scratching and clawing, and they're going to come out fighting.
No doubt. This is an NFC East battle. Both these teams don't like each other, and you can throw all the past performances out the window because they're going to come and try to play. The Giants, as you're saying, very desperate coming in here, 0-2 team, but they were kind of competitive in both those games. I know a lot of people say they didn't look that well running the football and protecting the quarterback. So they are going to come after the Eagles with fury. I think Odell Beckham is going to be healthy again. They seem to want to really get the ball to Shepard, and he's a guy you're going to need to watch in the slot. He's really done a nice job, and the Eagles may not have enough guys to cover those three receivers and a young tight end, Ingram, who's done a great job as well. So I expect an offensive battle, and as you said, the guys that are going to be able to get home, whether it's JPP and the Giants or it's Brandon Graham and the Eagles, they're going to be the team that wins this game on Sunday.
The Dallas Cowboys got humbled on Sunday against the Denver Broncos, and I think the Broncos defense, they kind of laid out the blueprint here, right? It's just basically clog the gap, force Elliott to the outside a little bit, and then you get your secondary guys, your DBs, you get your safety, your safeties coming up for run support, and they played a great game. Simeon played a great game. Dallas got humbled, and I'm just wondering, the Cowboys that you saw from week 1 and then the Cowboys that you saw in week 2, somewhere the truth lies in between. I mean, I don't think they're that bad than what we saw on Sunday, but I don't think they're as good as what we saw against the Giants in week 1.
Definitely, and this is a team that has a lot of talent. They're getting people back. They just got one of their defensive ends back from a suspension today, and that's going to help them in terms of game planning better for other teams. But as you were saying, the Broncos just shut them down, and it was a game you just kept waiting for Dallas to answer the bell. I know there was that weather delay in the game, but Dallas just did not seem to have any spark within them. I know some people are saying Ezekiel Elliott looked kind of like he was kind of quitting out there. I don't believe that. I think maybe they got down on themselves. They got behind in the game. And let's face it, the Broncos have probably one of the best defenses in the league, and they had the blueprint, as you said, to shut them down. So it's going to be up to the Cowboys to not have Dak Prescott throw the football so much, and it seemed like they were taking Des Bryant out of the game with their good corner. So it's going to be interesting in the NFC East because I still think all these teams are going to be kind of bottled up together, and it's going to be a 9-7, 10-6 team that wins this division.
I agree with that. A couple minutes with Lloyd Vance. We'll take up to 2 o'clock straight up. All right, let's switch gears a little bit to the AFC side of the ball. Listen, you're seeing what's going on in Cincinnati, and I've said this. You can't win a division September, October, but you can lose it. You talk about firing the offensive coordinator. There's clamors and rumors that maybe they want to bench Dalton. That's one of the reasons they never traded McCarron's. You got Marvin Lewis on the hot seat. They start 0-2. The Colts have some issues with no luck. They start 0-2. Pagano's on the hot seat. The Chargers blow 2 leads. Again, it seems like they always do this. They're 0-2, and the Jets are 0-2 as well. And the Browns are 0-2. But out of those couple teams, like when you look at Pagano in Indianapolis and then you look at Marvin Lewis in Cincinnati, who's got the hotter seat right now?
I definitely believe it's probably Marvin Lewis. Unfortunately, the efforts that they put out there's 2 home losses where they have not even scored a touchdown, setting an NFL record that has been out there since 1939 with no touchdown scored at home to start a season. He just does not seem like he has control of this team. And we know all along, going back to that bad playoff loss against Pittsburgh Steelers, they've just never rebounded from this. Andy Dalton just did not look consistent behind his line. All those interceptions and fumbles. He's turning the football over at a very high rate. Now this week they have to go to Green Bay. I know they've played well up there in the past, but I think Green Bay's probably going to attack Pac-Man Jones because, let's face it, he's getting old at this cornerback position, and they're just not getting the pass rush that they used to. So I think right now that Marvin Lewis is definitely in trouble.
Let me get you out of here on this. We always talk about the quarterback play, and it's funny because one week the Patriots look old, Brady looks done, and then they come back and they just light up the Saints, and the defense plays well. I know it's so early. It's extremely early right now, but after 2 weeks, you get the sense that the Patriots are going to be fine. The Patriots are going to be the Patriots.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you that they seem to be turning it around. I know they had a very poor performance against Kansas City in week 1, but you have Tom Brady, player of the week this week, with over 447 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Just did a nice job and control there. And then I heard today that they have Amendola, they have Hightower, all practicing. So Belichick is getting all his guys back ready for Sunday, and you know they're going to face a tough Texas team coming there. But Deshaun Watson, a rookie quarterback, he's going to see a lot of looks that he hasn't seen in quite some time. I expect the Patriots to win this game. They're 5-15 versus rookie quarterbacks under Belichick.
All right, my friend, 2 in the books. You know, we'll talk every week going forward. Always appreciate a little insight, and enjoy the games. We'll talk next week.
All right, thanks for having me on.